I'm telling you, it was about exactly 6 months later, I got blood and mucus in the toilet again.
All right, Tara, what's up? Thank you so much for joining me today to discuss your journey. What a journey it has been. Congratulations.
I'm happy to be here. I'm hoping somebody else will catch something off of this that will help them.
Oh, I love that. Can you first tell everyone what were you diagnosed with, how long ago, and what was that experience like for you and your family?
Well, I'm 46 now, and when I was 28, I was diagnosed with, at first it was colitis, but I think they changed it to Crohn's a couple years later.
20 years ago, diagnosed UC, then Crohn's, doctors changing the diagnosis. Yeah, but and then you were saying a bit out of the blue in your 20s?
Yeah, it just seemed like the very first symptom was the mucus, and from there it was the blood, and then from there it was like an attack of cramping and urgency. And I remember being on my bathroom floor, curled up in a ball. I mean, you can't even walk. I mean, it was, and I'm like, I don't even know what Crohn's and colitis and all that stuff is. But anyways, I go to the doctor and he diagnosed me as having colitis, and he put me on valsalazide. Mm-hmm. And for my family, like, I mean, my girls were both very little at the time, but I could not work. I mean, that just totally just your whole, lifestyle back in my 20s wasn't the best.
None of us are, especially before all these autoimmune diseases, right? And this is like awareness online of what's happening in our food. Like, we weren't talking about this in the year 98, 2000, 2002. Even when I was diagnosed, I started having problems in 2009. And there was nothing really out there. There's a few books, there's no podcasts and blogs, there's no YouTube videos or Instagram videos that we're seeing that's teaching us and making us aware, that's connecting us. But for 20 years, I mean, were you just using medications and were you doing natural medicine? What kind of led you up to that point where you even needed to look at S.H.I.E.L.D. or say, hey, I need something else after 2 decades of dealing with this?
Well, I was on the valsalazide, worked pretty well. Any time that it would like come back and like more so, he would just up the dosage. So I started off, I think, like 3, and then he upped it, and it just got up to, I think I was taking like 10 pills or something like that, maybe three times a day. When he switched me to Entyvio, when we moved into this house and I started having different problems, I started having fasciculations in my body, spasms, tremors, and I was like, what in the world is going on? I just had a major hysterectomy right before we moved into here too. And then I'm still on valsalazide, but then, when it increases again, instead of adding more pills, then I'm doing suppositories along with it. So that was the next thing. These fasciculations were to the point where I'm just like, I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if it was because of the hysterectomy that I just went through and all these changes with hormones in my body. But the doctor decided to put me on Entyvio because instead of increasing the dosage, she was like, well, let's put you on some modern medicine. And I'm thinking, have I not been on modern medicine? So I got on Entyvio, and I'm going to get these infusions. And first of all, that just doesn't feel right. Like, yeah. I'm a woman of faith, and I just don't want to be going to. That is not my future. Going to these places for the rest of my life, like
infusions.
I'm like, where's the root cause? Why are we not like digging for root cause here? But I was on that for 3 years, the Entyvio, and it worked like a charm for IBD. But the fasciculations in my body were increasing and increasing. And because they started right about the time that I got on the Entyvio, and I'm thinking it's got to be this Entyvio stuff. I'm like, I know it's an immune suppressant, and I don't know what it's doing inside of me. I know that every drug has a side effect, so I couldn't take those. It was tremors and all over my body. I'm getting twitches and spasms. I'm getting cramping in the middle of the night. My hands are cramping up. I'm waking up with these tingles and shooting pains up my arm and my legs. I could hardly walk sometimes in the middle of the night when I'd wake up from cramping in my leg. It was awful.
My gosh, Tara. And so, and we love when a conventional medicine helps us with IBD, awesome, great. We hope it can give us some space and relief to figure this out, right? It's hard to breathe with IBD sometimes. You go in the bathroom, blood, mucus, urgency. but you're starting to get other complications, and now you're getting responses to those complications from Entyvio. So you knew you couldn't be on it. When you started looking at the S.H.I.E.L.D. program, it's 20 years later, you've used medications, they have helped. What made you think that, okay, I need help, I need to, be able to fix and you talked about earlier, I need to fix the root cause. What made you feel like S.H.I.E.L.D. was different and could be a place that could really help you with a variety of issues and 20 years of issues?
Well, I told my doctor I wanted to get off Entyvio because all these spasms and stuff were just awful, and I thought that they were related. Mm-hmm. And he told me if I get off of Entyvio, I have a 50% chance of all my symptoms returning of IBD within 6 months. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm getting off of this. I don't know what else to do. I've got to do something. So I got off of it, and I'm telling you, it was about exactly 6 months later, I got blood and mucus in the toilet again. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Yeah. Like, I don't have, he already told me that he would not deal with me again if I came back to him. So I'm just like, I don't have any help. Like, what am I going to do? So now I'm searching online.
Now you're online. And just so we know, guys, the doctor's telling us they won't see us because we're having side effects to a biologic that has clinical research showing it increases chance of tuberculosis, other types of issues. I mean, I don't like that your doctor said that they wouldn't deal with you. You were in a very hard predicament. You were having severe reactions that could be measured at the type of life-debilitating reactions that you were getting outside of IBD. So I just want to hold space for that, that's a really tough conversation to have with doctors. And my doctor told me they wouldn't see me too when I came off Entyvio. So I get that. You're looking over the internet and you're wondering what's real, what can actually help me. I've got a case. I have so much background. What gave you that confidence? Was it these testimonies? You were watching these and you were going, maybe this is real?
I punched in IBD healing testimonies, and there you were. And I watched.
You watched about 20 of these things, huh?
And I finally had hope, and I was just like, oh my goodness. I wasn't right then ready to just give myself to a coach yet.
Yes.
But I watched your testimony and then other people's, and I looked at the products that you suggested. Yep. So right away, I bought Indigo. Indigo.
Yep.
And when that came in, I only took that for 3 days, and I'm telling you, the blood and the mucus went away.
Awesome. Guys, what she's talking about, I'm going to link that product. So that's going to be one of her highlights. We always like to ask every person in our community, what's one thing that really helped you out? We're going to just mention that. Indigo right here. It's so cost effective. It's a Chinese herb. Be careful if you've got liver issues. It's not medical advice. Speak with your doctor before using. It's right down there, though, if you want to check out what Tara's talking about. So you said, wait a minute. He just put the suggestion online. It changed my life. Okay, I'm going to give this team a shot, and I'm going to go behind the curtain and really get into this thing. And
well, I didn't.
Oh, you were still resistant. Okay.
And I wasn't having any problems, so I just thought this little supplement was your
savior.
Thing.
Yeah.
So I kept on taking that, and it was probably about 6 months after taking that. Meanwhile, I'm still dealing with these fasciculations and spasms and tremors. So about 6 months later, I'm still on Indigo, and I decide to change my diet completely because I'm like, the fasciculations are the thing that I'm worried about now. I changed my diet to carnivore because I'm thinking I have developed some type of another autoimmune issue. I know when you have autoimmune.
So you're thinking, I've got bacteria overgrowth, I've got fungal overgrowth, maybe candidiasis. I need to starve all that out. I need to, give my cells a chance by going into ketosis and giving myself a full reset, which can be extremely helpful for a lot of us out there. Okay. And then boom.
I did carnivore 6 months, and then they were like, oh, you just got to carnivore harder. If you're not getting the results, there's so many testimonies of people with autoimmune that it's helping and healing. They said, you just got to do it longer. So I went 8 months. And then I'm watching this carnivore lady called Lady Carnivore. And she says, when carnivore isn't enough. So I watched that episode, and she talks on there about how mold, or how she did carnivore, but she recognized she had mold in her house, and that's what was causing her symptoms. Well, her symptoms were my symptoms. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it is. Well, that was last August when I watched that. In September, I took the Swiffer test that she suggested. I Swiffered my house, and it showed I had mold in the house. So in September, I'm already getting educated about mold now. Well, in September, I remember it was on Yom Kippur, and I had an IBD attack. It was just like, it reminded me of when I was 28 and I was on my bathroom floor and I couldn't move. I was in a ball again, blood, urgency to the bathroom. Like, it was just.
Your body's freaking out. Yeah. You're back to square one. You've been, and this is, and Tara, for everyone out there listening, we see this. People work harder. You've never been on a more strict diet. You've taken intense medications. Now that they did help, you can't be on them for a lot of different reasons. You're looking, you're trying. This is also why you're still taking Indigo, which a lot of us products can really help, but your plan has to be everything combined and has to treat root issue. And so you're going through all that. And then is that when you said, let me give these guys a shot?
Yeah, because then at that point, when I got that attack, I had already moved out of this house because I found out through the Swiffer test that I had mold. I moved out of my house to my mom and dad's house because I knew I had to get out of here. But we had the first 2 floors remediated while I was living with them, and I had that attack, and I was like, what am I going to do now? And I remembered the Indigo, and I remembered something I can do. I can get a coach now, That's when I called your or whatever, and she hooked me up with Arman, Coach Arman, and in the beginning I was thinking, why are you hooking me up with a guy? I just kind of was thinking I would rather have like a woman coach.
Yeah.
But it was because he dealt with mold in his life, and of course they're going to put me with somebody who's dealing with that.
Yes.
So it ended up being perfect. Like, I tell you what, I never once felt awkward with him. I never felt like, less than, or like I didn't, he was just he just walked with me so gently and kindly the whole time. Like, his intuition and wisdom is just like, I was just, oh my goodness, it was just exactly what I needed. And now I'm on them. He was the one that guided me to Dr. Campbell's stuff, and it showed about mold.
Yep.
And so I took Dr. Campbell's test, and it showed I had all this mold in me, and that's what the cause of all the fasciculations were.
Wow.
So thank you.
So we're kind of trying to come around full circle here. So when you first started and you finally gave the S.H.I.E.L.D. program a chance, you were having constipation to multiple bowel movements a day, blood, mucus, urgency, really bad amounts. You were getting lots of bloating, lots of pain and cramping. And, those other symptoms were really pushing heavy, really bad. Energy was very low. And you would come off those medications that had really helped. And you kind of said it earlier, we're taming the symptoms, but not dealing with the root issues. And so now we had to really go and say, let's find it. And you found a problem with mold, which we find all the time. And we have blood analysis, urinalysis, home remediation protocols, a whole thing on mold. Guys, mold is a big thing we need to look at. And Tara's a perfect example of that. So it's been 8 months. What are your symptoms now?
I don't have any symptoms.
Wow, congratulations. But wait a minute, Tara, your IBD, so blood, mucus, urgency, multiple bowel movements a day, energy, all got better. But the other BFS symptoms, the hands, the shimmers, what happens? What's going on with that?
That's still there. All the IBD stuff is totally gone.
Okay, IBD's cleared, which is what we do. And we hope for the second gift if we have multiple diseases to get those better too. Because when you fix the gut, a lot of other stuff gets better too.
Yeah. That's where it starts, right? That's
where it starts. And so, but this BFS, it seems like it's gotten better from the notes.
So I wasn't allowed to get on the itraconazole until we had the whole house remediated. And we had only done 2 floors back in the fall.
Yes, you've got to reduce the load.
We got the basement finally done. And that's where it was actually all like the worst. And I was down there all the time breathing that in and never knew it.
Amazing. So, but to look at this, you got rid of all the symptoms. You didn't go back on a biologic. You remained medication-free doing this. And we were also saying, and it helped the other issues that have been going on for 15, 20 years. Would you say this is the best your gut's been in 25 years?
Definitely, yes. Because, because he always had to increase the dosage when it would come back a little bit. Like, it just never solved the problem, really.
And it's so interesting, and I love that we found this big root issue we've been attacking. Some other things we were talking about, like when we started learning about adrenals and what was going on with your adrenals with the stress response, and you started noticing like less swelling, flatter belly, better handling of stress when we started working on your adrenals. all sorts of stuff. You already gave Arman a big shout out, Coach Arman, who's just had so much success around the world. How important was he, would you say, in your success here in this program?
Oh, he was key. He was key. Definitely. Like,
do you think you could have got this results just going through a program without a coach who could really customize and be there and walk with you and tweak? Was that like one of the most important things you could have in this process?
No, and I even went to the Cleveland Clinic Functional Health, and they didn't help me. She was going to put me on her supplements, and plan wasn't really making any difference. Eventually, that she was going to put me on a new drug for IBD, for Crohn's, and I was thinking, well, here you go again. That's not root cause. You want to put me on something, because I asked her, for the rest of my life, and I'm like, well, bye, because I'm going after root.
Look at the courage on Tara. Man, I know a lot of people out there are rooting for you right now. They're getting excited about you, Tara. Tara, any last words of advice for anyone out there dealing with this, relating with you, wants to really figure out what's going on? Any 2 cents you give to them that can help inspire them and really connect with, your story, your journey?
I would just say, don't stop praying, don't stop believing, don't stop searching, because I really believe that God wants us whole and healthy. Like, this stuff doesn't just come on you for no reason. There's got to be a reason. And so we have to go after root cause. And this program goes after root cause. And I'm just a testimony that, it was due to mold. Like, even all the, the IBD stuff, that mold causes that. I really believe that after I'm totally healed from the, with the itraconazole, that I don't think it's going to ever return, because I grew up in those century homes where they had the dark, damp basements where I was breathing that stuff in, and all that stuff colonizes in me. And then at one point in my 20s, it just adds up, and then you get an outbreak of IBD. So I'm believing that that's what, everything was due to, was this mold that was in me. And I never would have found that out if I hadn't gotten with you guys and gotten with Arman, who guided me to
how to do it.
Getting inside of me. So
yep, guys, I absolutely agree with Tara that mold is a deep, deep root issue of what's going on for cellular inflammation, autoimmune reaction, especially if it's in your house and you're breathing it every day. We got to look and we got to treat it properly. Arman, last thing, what would you think made Tara so successful from your point of view? You see hundreds and hundreds of IBD clients with me over the years. What do you think?
It's been a lot. Yeah, for sure. I think, you all both of you brushed up on it, on a lot of things that Tara's done. But yeah, I mean, even before I met her, she was 8 months carnivore. It was 6 months, and then she pushed it to 8 months. I mean, I think that's just testament to her character. She was willing to be disciplined, and whether you're doing the 100 bananas a day diet, or whether you're doing carnivore diet, it definitely takes a certain character to commit to that. And just by knowing she did that, it's just, I already knew discipline and commitment to commit to things was going to be easier. And then wherever it was, whether it's the coffee enemas or it's keeping diligence with the protocols we created, being regular with these things and being diligent, she was at it. And she asked the questions, which I think is imperative to long-term healing. The more you know the reasons why, the much more empowered you're going to be. And she asked those questions. And I think that's why she's so empowered now.
I think, and I want to echo one thing about Tara's success here, is I think that Tara was convicted on where she was going to go. She had done things the other way, and she got to a point where she said, I want to heal, I want to dedicate myself to healing, and I want to go after these root issues, and that's my number one priority in life. And when you get conviction, you take pain, you turn it into purpose, and your life can change. And so, guys, last thing, if you want to have a free IBD session, which is what Tara said, you can jump in, do the exact same thing Tara did below. You can schedule. It's a free 1-hour session. We'll deep dive in your case, see if we can help. Let's build integrity and trust. We can treat it and beat it. Happy healing, guys.